Reporter slash writer named Evan Ratcliffe disappeared. 2009. Okay, well, he tried to disappear. It was a challenge. He wanted to see, in the era of Facebook, Instagram, cell phones, security cameras on every street corner, he wanted to see if he could hide somewhere in the world without his readers finding him. He offered up $5,000 for anyone that could find him, and they had 1 month to do so. This was like a whole movement on social media. People were forming groups, like watchdog groups. They were forming Instagram pages. Everyone was trying to find him, not even just for the $5,000, but for the fact that they could. They wanted to prove something. He was found 3 weeks later by a team of civilians who were interested in the reward money. 3 weeks.
So did he post anything on social media during that time?
Yes, he left little nuggets here and there, but they weren't big. They were really not big at all.
Yeah.
Keep its massive military all over the world, despite becoming a far smaller economy relative to the rest of the world and relative to its dominance in the 50s. On top of that, the strong dollar made Americans in general much richer than they would otherwise have been. However, on the flip side, it did make manufacturing in the US much more expensive, causing stable manufacturing jobs to leave the country, especially when China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001 in something that became known as the China Shock. Meanwhile, a strong dollar mostly helped those Americans that already had a lot of dollars, thereby making inequality worse. Then, in 2016, increased inequality in a devastated industrial heartland helped to elect Donald Trump, who started his first trade war in 2016. In hindsight, I believe this already marked the end of the neoliberal world order because it ended the very neoliberal idea that free trade is always good. This trade war was mostly about raising
Well, I've seen this video footage, as you say, it's been making the rounds, and he walks with a stiff gait, presumably because he has a rifle down his pants. He gets on top of the building, he takes the rifle out of his pants, and now he's able to walk more freely, and he crouches down and fires. And there are these casings. I'm not well versed enough to know what exactly those casings mean, what they're references to. I see that I've seen reports that they might have some connection to video games, but I don't know. But obviously they're of interest to the investigators. They have a lot.
If you were to bet money on each of those.
Incompetent, insane, or evil?
Insane meaning he's lying to everyone, but also to himself, which is a little bit different than incompetence.
He's not incompetent. So I think he's some combination of insane and evil, but it's impossible to know unless we know deep inside his heart how deluded he is versus a calculated strategy. And I think if you look at SBF, I think he's a fascinating individual. Just
people are getting the story wrong, and they're lying and twisting things, and there's a lot of false narratives going around, and we just feel like it's time to tell the true story of what actually happened because people need to hear the truth.
And I think also Kay, I kind of wanted to just come out and talk about it, but Kay, she's very open with her postpartum depression and health journey as far as that goes. And so it's also been kind of waiting for her to be able to handle, talking about it, because it's hard when you get all this hate and all these people spreading lies and rumors, and it's not true, but you still see it every day. And so I think we're finally at a point where she's ready to speak about it.
Yep. So you say this was from 5 years ago. What are you specifically referring to?
So the whole story in question, it happened 5.5 years ago on my birthday.
On your birthday?
On my birthday. Just being fully transparent, that night we were drinking wine and playing Minecraft. And we used to call it Winecraft.
I was really proud last year when we delivered Quest 3, the first kind of really high quality, high resolution, color, mixed reality device for $500, right? It's like a fraction of the cost of what the competitors are doing. And I think it's actually higher quality in a lot of ways. And now we've just doubled down on that. So I think that they're all actually going to end up being important long-term product lines. Displayless, heads-up display, full holographic AR, full headsets. I think that they're all going to be important.
Yeah. If you play out the future of not just the hardware that we've been talking about,
single day for the past 20 years. She was the one that caught him. This was his reaction.
If you were to see her, I think you would be extremely proud of her. I really do. Oh, thank you. She's alive. Yes, she's alive. She's alive. She's alive. Let me tell you, she's incredible.
So let's talk about the incredible survivor story of Jennifer Schuett and Dennis Bradford's dark secrets, because he would have more than just this.
Yeah, so I don't understand how people get this idea that Trump is racist. You know, my family came from a communist country. They came from Cuba, and they came from Mexico. So I don't see anything or any statement that he's ever made that's racist. I mean, there's accusations, but there's no facts behind it. And this whole idea that all Hispanics are illegal immigrants and they came here undocumented is not true, because my family came here on both sides through the legal immigration process, not illegally here.
Okay, so that was a bold claim. You just said that, there's no facts to substantiate the idea that Donald Trump is going to be a racist. So in the 1970s, there's civil litigation held against him by the DOJ of the state of New York for literally not renting to black people. What they did is they'd send in quote-unquote testers to his rental properties at the time. They'd send in a white person. The white person would ask the property manager if they had any available properties to rent. They'd say, yes, here we go, here's a housing application. Then they'd send in a black
of 14-year-old Philip Chisholm.
He is pure evil, and evil can never be rehabilitated.
You must imprison this killer for the rest of his life.
A ninth grader who's in court for murdering his 24-year-old school math teacher, Colleen Ritzer, on October 22, 2013. Colleen was known for her dedication to her students, and on that fateful day, she had asked Chisholm to stay after school for additional lessons. Little did she know that her kindness would lead to a horrific end. Chisholm came prepared with a knife, a change of clothes, and gloves. He followed her into a restroom where he took her life. His brutality didn't stop there. He robbed, assaulted, and abused her. Afterward, he disposed of her lifeless body by placing it in a garbage bin and dragging it behind the school. In a futile attempt to cover up his crimes, Chisholm went into town and used Ritzard's credit card to buy a movie ticket. However, he was traced down and arrested by the police the next morning. He still had Colleen's blood on his hands.